Hey there, Capricorn. How you doing? So it's Happy New Moon to you. Happy New Moon in Cancer. So this is a forecast taking you from the new moon in Cancer right the way through to the full moon in Capricorn, your own sign, on the 10th of July. Now, I just want to sow the seeds for these two particular moons. You know, today's new moon, I think, is all like traditionally about a feeling of softness and gentleness, and this feeling of protection and safety, and how we might create that for ourselves. And yet, at this moment in time, there's also a lot of background noise, this sense of truth coming up, and the chaos that is created by new truths coming into consciousness. And so to me, it just feels a little bit chaotic, a little bit full moony, in fact. Not the usual kind of soft and yielding and parental new moon in Cancer energy. The full moon in Capricorn is pretty heavy duty. It's encouraging us to work harder, and it will be testing our resiliency for sure. The sun and the moon at that moment in time are in a square to Chiron, the wounded healer. And so, yeah, I think it's going to be a little bit destabilizing. We might underestimate ourselves a little bit during that point. But here's the big noise, and that is Uranus. Uranus is changing signs between these two moons, and Uranus is going to go into the sign of Gemini. You know, he's been in the sign of Taurus since 2018 and permanently from 2019. So he has a 7-year, sorry, I don't know why I was doing 7. I need to do it backwards nope. That way, 7. He's been doing it for, he's been there in Taurus for 7 years. And, you know, he's going to be in Gemini until 2032, which is quite a long time. He is bringing in a whole new sort of feeling in terms of, you know, what might be going on sort of generationally. And his themes are all of change. Change is a big one. Change, innovation. Internet obviously is a real sort of like Uranian things, all things to do with wave technologies and forms and frequencies and things like that. I think he's going to be transforming our community scapes, you know, in the sign of Gemini. He's going to be creating a sense of liberation from group thinking and norms. And so, yeah, it's going to be interesting. So I'm going to be talking about that. And I've got 3 questions I want to ask during this reading for you. And that is, how are you shattering the limits that you put yourself under? You know, like you might have these kind of ideal limits and boundaries as to how far you'll go. How are you ready to kind of shatter those and break those? Because Uranus changing signs is likely to create some of that. The full moon in your sign is also likely to create that. How are you making empowered choices right now, I think is you know, a really good question to ask as well. And how are you building foundations for a much brighter future for yourself? So some pretty big stuff I'm going to be looking at, I think. If you're new to this channel, by the way, my name's Louisa Tanner-Munson. Welcome. You know, my aim here is to try and share astrology in a way that creates a sense of freedom and a sense of choice and space. And so that's what I'm hoping you'll get from this. The forecasts I'm doing are using a whole sign Western tropical model. And so what that means is I allocate 1 sign per house. So there are 12 houses and 12 signs, and there's 1 per house. And so that's how the forecasts are worked out. You know, and these are really designed for your ascendant sign. But, you know, if you're somebody who likes astrology and really knows astrology, which you probably do, because most people that follow my channel, I think, are really quite authoritative in astrology. If you use Placidus as your charting system, I recommend that you listen to your ascendant sign and then the following sign, because in your ascendant, you'll have half of Capricorn and then a little bit of Aquarius as well. So I really recommend that you listen to that one as well. Right, I think it's time to get going. So first of all, I want to just show you that there's a lot of other materials out there, quite a few that I've created, but there's a lot of stuff out there to help you during these times. These are really, really changing times. Today, when I release this video, I will also be releasing an all signs version of it as well, which goes much, much deeper into all the aspects. I'm just skimming the surface here, but I'm really deep diving into it. I've also got a recent Jupiter and Cancer video that is really applying right now. Jupiter is in a conjunction with this new moon, which I think this is definitely of interest. This is my new moon in Cancer video here, where it says 2 Yods. And then I've also got a Uranus playlist, Uranus through the houses. So if you understand where Uranus is in your birth chart, if it's in your 3rd house, you listen to that particular episode and so on and so forth. And it'll also tell you about what's going on if Uranus is going through, like transiting, currently moving through a particular house as well. So there's a lot there to support you. So what I'm going to do with this forecast then is I'm going to look at the new moon chart and also the full moon chart. But just before I do that, I just want to give a little bit of love and a bit of a shout out for all the people that have supported me so far and also who continue to support me. I really can't thank you enough. So thank you so much. Okay, so here are the charts. You'll see, with these charts, we've got Capricorn here. This is your sign, representing the 1st house, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, all the way around to the 12th. Now, the new moon in Cancer is showing up in your 7th house, which is a really important place. This is a very important and exciting, I would say, an exciting full moon for you because it's new moon, because it is bringing in a sense of new relatedness. So this is about very much how you are managing your relationships. This is a new start in your relationships, potentially a new lover coming in if you're single. This is an exciting time of the year. Like if you are looking for love or wanting to deepen love, the new moon in the 7th house is always the one that is prominent and important. Now, as we go through the 2 weeks, the moon is going to make a journey this way. We'll end up in the full moon in your own sign. So the sun will be here, the moon will be here. Again, it's emphasizing the 7th house and this time the 1st house. So I want to talk a little bit about the polarity here because the 1st house is about you and your personality, your persona, your identity. Also a little bit about your health and your body, your physical stamina. And then the 7th is, if this is all you, this is everything that's not you. So if we go back to the new moon, this is about an opening with people that are not you. This is an opening, a new start, a fresh sense of optimism and hope to do with your relationships. The fact that Jupiter is also close by, I also see as useful. Now, forgive me, if you are aware of Cazimi energies, i.e. when a planet is exactly connected to the sun, this amplifies the energy of that particular planet. But when they're out of this absolute closeness, they're so close to the sun that they are kind of burnt out by the rays of the sun. So Jupiter's position in astrology this time is known as being under the beams of the sun. He's not really seen as being that powerful. However, he is in the sign here, in the sign of Cancer. This is the sign that he is most powerful in. He's exalted in this sign. So I actually think Jupiter in a conjunction with this particular new moon has a really Jupiterian feel, which is optimistic, hopeful, expansive. This is really, I think, really lucky. It's really giving you that sense of luck, that you're in the right place at the right time and something is about to birth and evolve. So I love this. I really love this. There's a lot of energy in the 7th house. Mercury's also here right at the start of this forecast. Now, again, if I go to the full moon, what's happening as we come into the end of this forecast period, where there's been so much focus on a new relationship developing or your relationships with people in general, it almost feels like you've been spending so much time ensuring that other people are doing really well, that by the time the full moon comes up, and I often notice that when the moon is in the 1st house, that I feel very, very sensitive. I feel quite overwhelmed. I feel hypersensitive, maybe is a word. So I think around this time, you're tired, you're fed up, you're emotional, you're feeling a little bit fed up, that it's all about them and not about you. So I really recommend coming up to the full moon time that you start to break away from people a little bit and give yourself a little bit of time for you so that you don't feel quite so resentful of the amazing people in your life coming up to the full moon. Around the time of the full moon, you're likely to just really need to have a sense of people like helping you, people looking after you, people looking out for you. So you might choose in particular around this time, from the 6th of July, you might think, okay, it's time now for me to book myself in for a massage, a reflexology, or something really nice. You might want to have a night to yourself. Whatever you can do to nourish yourself, I think would be really, really useful, so that when the moon comes around here, you're pampering yourself. You are giving yourself the attention you need, rather than almost demanding that other people pay that attention to you. So be sensible and kind of make those moves. What makes this even more critical that you do this, I would say, is the fact that the moon and the sun are, the moon and the sun are in a square, a T-square with Chiron. Chiron, the wounded healer, is in your 4th house. He's really sensitive there as well. The wounded healer brings up stuff from childhood. And so anywhere where you felt isolated, alone, cast out, scapegoated, black sheep, etc., that's likely to pop up around the time of the full moon. So take your time, come into yourself, so that the danger of flying off the handle, or falling out of companionship, so that is what's the word, avoided, so that you don't have to put yourself in a dangerous situation. I think that would be quite helpful. So they're the two big moons. Now let's talk a little bit about Uranus. Now I will be talking about this at a much deeper level in my Uranus forecast, which will be taking place, for the whole duration of Uranus, for the next 7 years. It's not just a quick in-depth look at it now, but what I want to do is an in a nutshell kind of forecast for Uranus here. So he's going at the time of the new moon in Cancer, you can just see he's in the sign of Taurus, and Venus is really close by. And then around the 4th, Venus is going to, by that time, she's moved closer to him. She's making a conjunction, and she's going into Gemini. And then a couple of days later, you'll see that Uranus has also moved into the sign of Gemini on the 7th. The 7th is a really big day. This, first of all, Uranus, he is that planet of excitement and change. And I mentioned, he might be changing things in terms of how you are within your community, and the whole idea of how communities are formed and stuff. And yet here in your chart, he's, I think, turning your life upside down a little bit. He's really showing that there is real room for you to be a little bit more fun, a little bit more exciting, maybe not to plan so consistently. He's really trying to make things a lot more, I don't want to say eccentric, but a little more free, a little bit more spontaneous. See, this part of the chart is all about how measured you are. Are you doing everything at the right time? Are you looking after your health? Are you looking after your diet? What are you doing in terms of like your work, and how you manage your money, how you manage your housework, etc. So it's a very sort of and I don't want to call it boring, because I really think the 6th house is a really important house, but it's really values stability. And so having Uranus come in here, I think, can really throw things up in the air. You might find that there are unexpected burdens coming in, surprise burdens, or maybe you need to work in a whole new way. There's change. Your health is also managed from this part of the chart. And so Uranus is also about sort of electromagnetic energy. And I'm not a medical astrologer, though I think that would be a really cool thing to study in. So I'm not a medical astrologer. However, my own take on this, my own read on this, is that Uranus has something to do with the fields, the frequencies around you, and in particular your electromagnetism within your body, and how it all kind of works together. So this isn't the nuts and bolts of health. We've all been raised with this idea that if you get a bacteria, you're going to get some kind of infection. You catch things, you don't create them. Whereas I think the Uranian ideas on health is more about, are you in the right frequency? Are your emotions and your emotional thoughts creating the right frequency for you to exist in a perfect emotional and physical state? And so if, like, during this time, I really recommend that you watch your emotional state and your emotional frequency, or even consider using vibration and frequency to recalibrate yourself. I mean, I've got a glass of water here. If you've looked at the examples or the experiences and experiments of Masaru Emoto, you'll know that water can be programmed, and water is like liquid crystal. There's also Veda Austin, and she does lots of really fascinating water studies as well. She's definitely worth following. And so my take on this is, if your water inside your body, if that's say 75% of your body is water, you might think about how you're programming it. So to me, that feels like one way of helping you in terms of your health. Uranus can also be a little bit accidental as well. So anything you can do to strengthen your balance, so that you're less likely to be moving in a way that may well be a bit lopsided or prone to being like pushed out of balance. I mean, balance is a real thing here. Not necessarily your physical balance, but how you're working your day-to-day life. Have you got balance? And Uranus here is just going to, I think, create lots of different scenarios whereby you may well need to change the way you do things. It's too soon to say how it's going to affect you. I remember when Uranus was last in this part of my chart, that I moved several times and there was really no consistency in my life. But I was doing a lot of traveling and working in different places, and also with a young family. And so it was quite an exciting time, but there was nothing that was really consistent. And so again, something else you might choose to do, Capricorn, is to develop a mindset for possibility and a mindset for freedom and liberty, and recognize that freedom and liberty can't be contained. You can plan for them, make space for them, but they're going to really erupt and happen at their own times. So I would do something that allows you to open up a little bit, because if you're battening down the hatches so that change can't come in and knock you off balance, I hate to tell you this, but that Uranus energy, if it's not used up, it's likely to come in and shake things up. So use it, play with it. Do things that are unusual, do things that are going to be fun and spontaneous, and work with frequency for sure. But anyway, yes, like when I look at these two moons for you, Capricorn, I really think in terms of frequency between the balance between everything to do with you and everything to do with your relationships. So this, to me, this 2-week theme is about relatedness. How can you enjoy relatedness, closeness, and trust with somebody else, whilst also nurturing and feeding yourself? To me, that is a really big theme. So to answer those 3 questions I gave you at the start, which was, sorry, I've got a very friendly fly here. How are you shattering your limits? How are you creating new possibilities for yourself? I actually think Jupiter is opening you up here. He's opening you up for a swell of companionship. He's opening you up to lots more interactions with people, with good-hearted people, kind people, maybe people that you don't really need to put limits in place with, people that you can just trust, and that you can allow into your home and allow into your life, and not have to put all these like little dictates down, like, oh yes, just call me before you come. It's more like, wouldn't it be great if you could meet with people that you could be so easy with, that you don't have to kind of have any necessities to happen beforehand, someone that can just pop in, or someone that you can count on. I think you're opening up in a new way, and your ability to trust the situation, I think, will be really empowering. Speaking of empowerment, how are you making empowered choices? I think anything that you do to allow change in, and anything you do to invite unusual and the new and innovation, I think is going to be really helpful. Because as Uranus comes into this very sort of much lived part of your chart, everything new and inventive is going to need to be considered. There's going to be loads of different tools that can help you, I think, to do more, and also to have more time to play and be quite fun. So in terms of how you're making empowered choices, I would say open yourself up to being changed. And then in terms of how are you building foundations for a brighter future, I actually think, and I haven't really mentioned this in anyone else's chart, but this is the one that's really striking me right now. Saturn and Neptune right now are just in your 4th house. Neptune is taking is going retrograde from the 4th. And soon Saturn will also be going retrograde. They're dancing in between this part of the chart, to do with belonging and to do with being at home. there is a new feeling of what being at home is going to mean. And much of that might have to do with the fact that there are warm-hearted people coming into your world, and also possibly a little bit of chaos and a need to be a little bit more open and not so shut down. Interestingly, at home, I really think there is a need to bring your spirituality, your spiritual preferences into the home, to bring your creativity, to bring your sense of oneness and ease into the home. So I really actually think you're mostly building a brighter future by opening up and embracing that, yes, you're in a physical body, but you're a spiritual being. You're a spiritual being at this moment in time. And I think that is the much bigger picture. And I think that is where you're heading. So I'm going to leave that there, Capricorn. Now, if you like the way that I talk about your chart and talk about the planetary energies and how they might work with you, every 2 weeks, i.e. every new moon and full moon, I do 2 additional forecasts, a love one, a relationship and connection one, and also a career and ambition one, which is also about your mission in life. And so you get 4 of these each month, 2 at the new moon and 2 at the full moon. I also do a daily forecast Monday through Friday. There's and this is part of my membership. And so if this all feels good, you might choose to check it out. You get a week's free trial. And, here's some of the other things that go on. For instance, I do not one, I actually do 2 community hangouts each month. So they're fortnightly, where I invite everyone in the community to a Zoom call. If you're free and you like the subject, you can come and join us. It's a place where we've really come together. There's a real sort of sense of bondedness, even with new people joining us. There is this sense of openness and sharing. We all come with our charts. We have an agenda, and we just work through. And so we're kind of learning together in quite this beautiful team. Right now, we've also got shaman Whitney Mullings, who's helping us out. So every new moon and full moon, she's also doing a new moon or full moon ceremony. In fact, we had one last night, and it was really revelatory. I really found it helpful. So if this is the kind of thing that you would love to get involved in, I really do think this is a time when communities are more valuable to people, because we're really sort of connecting, and you'll be connecting with people from Hawaii right through the way through to New Zealand. We're from all over the world, living very, very different lives. But if this sounds like the kind of thing that might really help you, then just check out my description field below. You'll see a link to the Feel Good Astrology community and take it from there. I've also got a link to 5 free questions on a new WhatsApp service called Astronex as well. So if that sounds interesting, it's a WhatsApp astrological assistant that could really, really help you out when you need it. So if that sounds helpful, then just check that out too. But anyway, sending you loads of love wherever you are right now in your life, whatever's going on for you. I really feel very certain that this particular lunation is a strong one. So please do enjoy yourself and make the most of it. Lots and lots of love to you. Catch you another time. Bye for now.